What's going on, everybody? This is Eric Cole from over at Talking Chop, where I am the deputy site manager and minor league editor. You may have seen my written work on Talking Chop for the last few years, or you've heard me on the Talking Chop podcast or the Road to Atlanta podcast. But all that stuff is kind of separate from what this project's going to be. Maybe a month and a half ago, something like that, I posted on Talking Chop regarding a series that I was starting called Re-Entering the Hobby, where I was going to be exploring going back into the baseball card collecting hobby and allowed me to kind of appeal to something that was a part of my childhood. I was really into baseball cards when I was a kid. Nothing particularly high end like a lot of big collectors or anything like that, but I really enjoyed opening packs and collecting sets and collecting cards and players that I liked. I was a big Ken Griffey Jr. fan, Frank Thomas fan. You know, a lot of the big names from kind of that early 90s era I was really into, and baseball cards were kind of a really neat way to appeal both to the collector in me, where I just kind of like being able to, gather up, all of a card or a card that I really wanted, plus just appeal to the fact that I was a baseball fan growing up. This is going to be a little bit of a two-way video a two-prong video in a lot of sense. This pile here are some of my favorite cards, and while I'm talking about this, I'm going to be kind of talking about some things that I've learned along the way. And then this here is going to be the first of what I hope to be many mailbags for this series. I just got these packages in today. As you can see, I already cut into them to make sure that everything was good to go, and I knew it was in them. Just to double check and make sure. This little guy here is the result of a very big trade that I'm going to talk about here in just a minute. And then this is the result of what's called a group break. And again, I'll kind of explain all this along the way. Going into this, obviously my focus was going to be on the Braves and kind of focusing on players that I like, whether that be prospects or whether that be major league players. But the big thing for me is making this hobby accessible, because it is a really easy way to spend an enormous amount of money. We're going to talk about some cards here in a second where I've actually gotten exceedingly lucky to not have to spend a lot of money on them. But what I've been trying to do is, instead of spending a ton of money, because when I don't have, I have 2 kids and I have a wife and we have all of our own obligations and, things that are not involving baseball cards and pieces of cardboard that I like to collect. So it's not something that I can necessarily spend an inordinate amount of money on just getting everything that I want. And I think that's true of a lot of people. I think that people like the idea of collecting baseball cards or collecting something, but not necessarily breaking the bank to do so. So what I've done is I've been doing my absolute best to kind of find ways to kind of find inefficiencies in the market where, let me just get this focused here, find inefficiencies in a market that I think I can exploit, both in terms of value perspective and the fact that I can still get players that I really like. One guy that's that is kind of a mid-level card right now is William Contreras. He's kind of a borderline top 100 prospect right now, catching prospect for the Braves. One, I really like his signature. It's really pretty, nice and loopy. I've actually managed to get 2 of these. One came in a trade, and the other one came in. I just was able to get on eBay. This is going to bring me to the first thing that I wanted to talk about here, is where to get cards from. I always recommend that people go to their local card shops, and if you have one available to you, go there. You're not going to get the best price there. It's just not going to happen, because they have their own overhead and things like that to kind of keep track of. But building those relationships and maybe just kind of supporting a local business like that for a hobby that doesn't have a ton of brick and mortar stores anymore is just going to be good for you, because they're going to find things, they're going to see things, and if you can build those relationships, that's really helpful. This guy in particular here, this was an eBay purchase. This is a Bowman Chrome, first Bowman autograph of William Contreras here. Really good condition. I have another autograph, but the autograph's a little bit streakier. Which again is fine for my purposes. It was a part of a trade, and I kind of accounted for that value when I was making that trade, so it wasn't the biggest of deals for me. But this is a little bit of a nicer one. eBay is really good for finding deals on cards that are kind of mid-level cards, because the really expensive cards are still going to go for a good bit amount of money on eBay, with some notable exceptions. You can get deals there, but you have to deal with things like individually shipping cards, which adds however much. So I wouldn't necessarily go there for buying those $3 or $4 cards that you need, because ultimately you're going to kind of lose out on the fact that you're going to have to pay shipping, and you're going to end up paying more for the card. Another site that's been really helpful for me has been COMC. It's Check Out My Cards, I think is actually what it's supposed to be called, but comc.com is where you can buy singles, and then they can get added to your account, and then once you kind of get to a point where you feel like you want to ship them, you can ship all your cards together, so you're not getting beat up on shipping costs. Which leads me to this card. This card here, this was actually a gift from my father-in-law. He knew that I was going to get back into baseball cards. This is a Touki Toussaint. I believe it's 2016 autograph. It's a purple purple parallel autograph, numbered to 250. This one's 166 of 250, I think, something like that. It's kind of hard for me to see and show the camera. He has a really pretty signature. He liked the card a lot. I like the card a lot. But once I got that card, the idea of kind of getting all the versions of that card was appealing to me, especially if it was economical, which led me to find this card on COMC, which was not particularly expensive. This is actually numbered to 99. You can see over here in the top right corner. This is a green parallel. Again, same card, same player with the signature, again, just kind of a green background, which kind of generally denotes it's going to be a little bit rarer than a purple. We can kind of get into later as to kind of how that works, because each product has their own idiosyncrasies regarding what colors mean what in terms of rarity and things like that. The short version of the story is red is generally the one that's going to be the rarest, other than those kind of one-of-one cards. But once I kind of started poking around on COMC, started looking at cards that I liked and didn't like, and again, I'm not wanting to spend $50 a card, all the time and things like that. I don't think I've actually spent that much money on a card at all, which is kind of remarkable considering that some of the cards that I'm going to be showing you guys in this video, I've actually gotten insanely lucky, and you have to, in some respects, you kind of have to be if you don't want to spend a ton of money on this hobby. But for example, this here is a non-licensed product, which it's not like a Topps product, so it doesn't have the Braves logo or anything like that, which is not something that I was particularly excited about, but at the same time, like, I like what I like, and obviously Freddie's a really good pitcher. He was down in Rome for all of last season, and I think he's going to be one of those projectable guys that I feel like a card like that's autographed by him may not be expensive now, and Freddie Tarnok autographs are not expensive right now. And plus, it has the Go Braves inscription on it, and it's just kind of a really pretty card. So again, I didn't pick this up for much, and I decided to pull the trigger on it, and I got that from COMC. What I just mentioned is a big part of what I've been doing, is kind of collecting what I like. And, everyone's going to like the big names, the Sorokas, the Tukis, the Austin Rileys, the Drew Waters of the world, because one, those cards have value, and two, those players are already kind of known commodities in terms of the baseball card collecting world, as well as the... how do I put it? In terms of not just baseball cards, but also just in the prospect following community in general. It's kind of easy to bet on a guy who's a top 50 prospect and try to get his cards, but it's a little bit harder to kind of really know a system, which I think I'm relatively fortunate enough to do, to be able to kind of speculate on some guys that maybe other people aren't really looking out for. But another thing that I've noticed is, like, there's just some cards that just appeal to me aesthetically, and they don't necessarily have a ton of value. Or at least they're not like, the easy ones. I mean, yes, Ronald Acuna rookie cards that are autographed are incredibly expensive and highly desirable, and I really like them. But for example, in 2018, Topps Update came out with this card. It's a base card that has multiple parallels in it. It's called The Future is Bright. I think it's numbered US 43, something like that. Once I found that I saw that base card, I thought that it was really cool, even though it doesn't have like the rookie card shield on it, so it doesn't show that it's Ronald Acuna's rookie year or anything like that. It has both Albies and Acuna on it, which I really like, and there's a lot of parallels that I can get with it. There's actually several, and it's been really kind of frustrating to find all of them. I'm still looking for parallels of all these cards. I have the gold, the rainbow, these two. This is the Mother's Day, and this is the Father's Day. Both of these are numbered to 50. I'm still looking for the black parallel. The Memorial Day parallel, it's a kind of a camouflage back one, is the one I'm really looking for right now. I've only seen one that's been for sale, and it was pretty pricey because, again, it's only numbered to 25. But these weren't terribly expensive. The gold and the rainbow foils are even less expensive than that. I'm still looking for the black and the Independence Day. For whatever reason, the Independence Day is actually numbered less than these guys. These numbered to 50. It's actually like numbered to 76, I believe. And they've actually been going for more than these other versions are. I think it's just because of the look of the card. It's like, like the Stars and Stripes is really pretty on that particular card. But if you guys find any other parallel versions of this card, please let me know, and maybe we can work out something. Back to speculating on guys. Again, really easy to kind of bet on guys who are around Baseball America publications and, like top 50 prospects and things like that. But then there's guys like Max Fried, who have kind of been forgotten. He doesn't have prospect eligibility anymore, and he hasn't really found a role in the starting rotation yet. But I kind of see him as a guy who ended up in like kind of a Lance McCullers type role, where he's, you know, sometimes in the rotation to start if need be, but maybe longer relief stints. And I think that his stuff is really good. And there's also a possibility that maybe if he ends up getting traded, he could really catch on somewhere else, even though the Braves probably have more starting pitching prospects than they know what to do with right now. Max Fried, this is his Bowman's first card. This is when he was with the Padres. I think this is from 2012. Yeah, it's 2012. Really pretty card. And more importantly, I think it was like $7 or $8. And again, really pretty signature, something that's aesthetically pleasing for me. But cards like this, which is like a, you know, number to 150 rookie card autograph of Max Fried, again, not expensive, just a few bucks. And he's a guy that could very feasibly turn into a really good player. And I didn't have to invest much in him, and he's a guy that he has real talent. It's not like you're investing in like a Daniel Castro rookie card that's autographed, or a guy that, you know, is like kind of like a veteran who's been around forever but has never really done anything. You know, Max is still a guy that has a ton of talent. He was a high draft pick, one of the better left-handed pitching prospects in baseball before he got injured with the Padres, and now he's already in the major leagues, and he could very feasibly provide the Braves with an actual real boost and real value. And those are the kind of guys that I've been targeting, which brings me to this next guy. Patrick Weigel was added to the 40-man roster to protect him from the Rule 5 draft. He's coming off Tommy John surgery, which is, again, a little bit of a red flag. I'm not going to pretend that it's not. But, I mean, this is a guy that throws upper 90s, has a wipeout slider, and is already going to be on the 40-man roster, so he's going to make his major league debut. So the worst-case scenario is you're going to get a little spike in value regardless if you're kind of looking to speculate in terms of like the finances of baseball card collecting. But he's going to get a spike in value when he does debut, and we predict that he will. And he could end up he could probably start off as a reliever this year, so you know he might be a guy you have to hold on a little bit longer. But he was a starter in the minors, and he was a really good one. This is an organizational pitcher of the year. So, and more importantly, his cards are not expensive at all. This guy right here was $2. This guy here, I think I spent $6 on. One, because I really like the Baseball America logo printed on this card. And two, it's a little bit lower numbered. It's all down to, it's out of 75, 61 to 75. And it's a card that I'm going to be looking to pick up in the future. Just going forward. Because again, really like Weigel to potentially to buck his current projections in terms of how good of a player he is. Has really great stuff, has a really good work ethic too. And then I'm fortunate enough to kind of know that information so that when I'm looking for cards, and I'm looking for players, I kind of know who I like and who I don't like. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I still like Patrick a lot. And in terms of collecting, I'm still going to treasure those. And it wasn't a big investment. It's not like I spent $50 on a Patrick Weigel, you know, autograph or anything like that. You know, again, I've gotten a few of them at this point, and I think I've spent a total of like $10. So it's, again, an easy way to kind of get involved in the Braves fandom in a different way. And I've been really enjoying that. One guy that I think's been overvalued a little bit right now is this guy right here. I was a little bit surprised, not because we really, really like Drew Waters. We really, really do. We think that he's a borderline top 100 prospect right now. He's a little bit far away, and that's what kind of made me curious as to why like some of his cards are like going more for like than guys that I honestly think are more likely to be real contributors at the major league level. But getting Drew Waters autographs right now is actually pretty tough. He's a little more expensive. Position prospects I've kind of found to be cost a little bit more in terms of like getting those cards, and whether it be in trade or whether it be in actually just paying for them. Position player prospects generally are going for a little bit more. But I wasn't fortunate enough to get this one. Oddly enough, this was the result, one of the results of a trade. I opened some random blaster box of 2018 Topps Heritage, I think it was, and I managed to get a Paul Goldschmidt relic autograph that was numbered to 25. Meant that it has a piece of patch in it, as well as his autograph, and it was hand numbered to 25. It was a really neat looking card, and I honestly didn't know what to do with it, which kind of brings me to my next point. In whatever hobby you choose, and you know, baseball card collecting isn't for everybody. It's obviously there's some barriers of entry in terms of cost. And some people that doesn't really appeal much to them. But whatever hobby you choose, especially if you're going to be investing any amount of money into it, is find someone that knows what they're talking about, and you know, make friends with them. I've been very fortunate. I have a Stacy Marlowe to help me. Stacy Marlowe joined Talking Chop last year, and she wrote up some really cool baseball card collecting stuff, which is actually kind of what got me this bug, is kind of reading her stuff and kind of realizing what that market still existed out there. and that it was still a lot of fun and interesting. It's something that had changed a lot since I was a kid. Wasn't nearly as many inserts and parallels and stuff like that, and having to keep up with stuff. And ultimately, a lot of the value with cards right now is with autographs or with really low number parallels. But Stacy's been great. Anytime I've had a question, she's answered it for me. And when I got that Goldschmidt and I had to redeem it, you have to basically scratch off a code and then enter it on Topps website, and then they mail you the card eventually. It didn't take super long for mine. I think it was like maybe a week, maybe two. I know that some people have waited years for redemptions, which is kind of unfortunate. But once I got the card, I just asked Stacy, because she's really immersed in the card collecting world, if she knew anyone that was either a Paul Goldschmidt fan or a Diamondbacks fan or even a Cardinals fan now since he got traded. And luckily enough, she's been around long enough to know that there was someone that was a big Diamondbacks fan. And so I got in touch with him, and because Stacy was able to vouch for him, and that's the biggest thing is, like, if you're making trades and stuff like that, I was fortunate to have someone that knows what they're talking about and could put me in touch with someone that they trusted and could vouch for. Because as with anything, the internet and just anything that involves, exchanging goods for money or anything like that, there's a den of thieves, and you just have to be careful. But I was fortunate enough to know I know a person who could point me in the direction of someone that was trustworthy, and that led me to a gentleman named Ed, who is located out in Arizona, and we worked out a deal. He actually went kind of nuts. Thank you, Ed, very much. We agreed on some autographs, and he sent this guy along too, and now I have to send Ed some more cards because I feel really bad, because I feel like that I got the better end of that deal, but I got some other, some other prospect autographs, including one of those William Contreras autographs. Not that one, but the other one I have. Same card, just slightly worse signature, I think. But I was able to get put in touch with that guy, and now I know that if I ever encounter Diamondbacks cards, or I found out in talking to him, he's also a Nationals fan. So if I find any Nationals cards, I can trade with him, and I can continue to grow my collection that way. I don't have to keep just hunting down the cards that I want, whether it be on eBay or COMC listings, or just hoping that the packs that I open contain the Braves cards that I want. Instead, I'm trying my best to find people that have fandoms that maybe are not the same as mine, because trading with other Braves fans is always going to be a little bit trickier because you're all kind of looking for the same cards, but allows me to kind of find people that I can trust, and then I can find cards that I like, and they'll look out for cards for me, and I'll look out for cards for them. And that's really a big part of the fun of this for me, is just finding new people. So let's talk about these. If you were to take a cursory glance at eBay or COMC, these are Ronald Acuna Jr. rookie cards. They're both autographed. I had a problem getting started with this series, and that was this guy right here. Anything that has his name on it, and specifically his signature on it, is inflated by value a lot. Both these cards, depending on when you buy them, they're in the $100 each range. And I didn't want to spend that on cards. I just didn't. That's, again, I have other responsibilities, and more importantly, like if I invest in this one card, I'm not really collecting baseball cards. I'm just collecting, I just have this one, or I have this one. But what I discovered is basically there's online groups that are run fairly well. That for baseball card collectors and things like that. There's one that's specifically for the Braves that's on Facebook. You can find it. It's like Braves baseball cards and memorabilia or something like that, where they run things called Razzes. And Razzes work. The way Razzes works basically is like a raffle. Sorry, I'm trying to get this camera to cooperate. But basically the way it works is that instead of just selling the card for like a set amount on eBay, let's say you sell this one for $120 on eBay as a buy it now. Instead, what you do is you sell 12 slots at $10 a piece, and people enter their raffle buying each spot for $10, and then they do a drawing. They use random.org and all this other stuff, and whoever is at the top wins. I have only won 2 Razzes. I've done a few of them. I've kind of shied away from them because it's like a pretty high variance thing, and it's one of those things where, I don't necessarily want to throw $20 down the tube constantly. But every once in a while, I might, if I see something that I'm really interested in, it's a high value card. The only 2 Razzes I have won are for these 2 cards. I spent a grand total of, I think, $25 on these 2 cards together. I won both of those, and again, together they're probably a little over $200. It kind of depends on where you're looking and when you're buying. Off season is a great time to buy because baseball fever hasn't really started yet. and during season, those cards are going to go up a little bit more in value. But I wasn't necessarily planning on getting Ronald Acuna rookie cards early on in this process. But when I saw that, I could throw $10 and get a slot for one of them, I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try. And I ended up winning. And then I saw another one. I bought one more slot. I ended up winning that one too, and that was a good day. But you're going to see the big brother of these two here shortly in one of these mailbags. Spoiler alert. Now we're going to talk about a set that's been entirely too good to me. And that's been 2019 Topps Series 1 of all things. For those who aren't aware, Topps Series 1 or the Series 2 or any of those big flagship sets, they're not meant to be expensive. They're meant to be kind of, buying in like retail at Target and Walmart, and getting really good cards out of it is not particularly easy. There's a lot of base stuff and stuff that's doesn't really have much value in it. A lot of manufactured relics and things like that. So finding cards of real value in it isn't easy. But I decided that I was gonna give it a try, and at the very least, there were some rookie cards like Tuki Toussaint, Colby Allard, a couple other guys that are going to be in the set anyway. So like having those base cards meant something to me. So I decided to do that. And I entered what's called a group break. And a group break is you basically buy a team and you get all the cards of that team. Now, what's nice about these is that instead of like buying a box of Series 1, which is like, $60 or so, you can buy a team like the Braves, and when they'll break an entire case of boxes, which is significantly more product. You have more chances. One, you have more chances at getting hits. Like in a box of Series 1, there's only going to be one autograph in there. Whereas if you're opening a case, especially if it's of like jumbo packs, you get more chances at autographs and more chances at cards with patches of uniform in them and things like that. You just have more shots at it. So instead of just having to buy a box, you buy the team and then you get only the cards of the team that you want. And you still have a chance of you have more chances at getting really good cards. Well, I didn't do that. Well, I did, but we'll get there. In the group break, I bought the Braves. This was kind of going to be my first chance of like really buying the Braves, simply because Series 1's an inexpensive product, and the Braves, especially in 2018 products, are really expensive to buy in what's called those pick your team breaks or PYT breaks, because of the presence of Ronald Acuna Jr. rookies and all these other highly desirable young players, not to mention Freddie Freeman and things like that. But I bought the Braves in the Series 1 pack, and this particular break occurred on Hall of Fame baseball cards, which is a small card shop, family run, out in California. Their website is hofbc.com. They don't do a ton of breaks. They don't break a bunch of boxes. They're relatively low scale in that market, but I think those guys are great. Really knowledgeable about basketball cards, really just good guys. They'll just randomly play music in the middle of their breaks and things like that, and they have this real excitement that kind of reminds me of when I felt like I was a kid, like opening packs and getting excited. Really enjoyed watching them, and I decided to give them a try, and they've been great. So make sure you go look at their website, and if you want to get involved in some baseball card stuff, definitely buy some stuff from those guys. Those small operations deserve our love too. Anyways, regardless of all that, I bought into a pick your team break for the Braves out of Series 1. And the first card I got was this guy here. This is a manufactured relic. This isn't like something that came off a uniform or anything like that. This is kind of like 150 years of professional baseball relic thing. But the important part of this is, one, it has Ronald Acuna on it, which is a important thing these days when you're collecting Braves baseball cards. And two is this little stamp right here. You see the big shield, but this little stamp means it's 150 years. Kind of a if you're thinking about like old Topps cards, think about like a gold card. Again, you're gonna have about one of these every pack or two. But when they're on relics and things like that, that means they're numbered. And this guy is numbered to 150. So getting a short print parallel of anything that has Ronald Acuna on it is always going to be good. It's something one less thing I have to kind of try to find and acquire. I don't necessarily think I'm going to be getting a ton of more stuff out of Series 1, because I've kind of gotten the things that I really want. There's a couple of cards I need to look for, but the other card I got out of the break was this guy. Yeah. My luck in this set has been kind of insane. This is the first autograph I've gotten out of this set. It's a Mike Fulton numbered out of 25. It's a red version of this card. If you find this card, if you find this card with autograph, but it's not the red version, this is just all gray. Red parallels, like I told you before, are going to be really short prints, and that means there's only 25 of these, and I've seen a couple of them on eBay, but I don't necessarily think I'm going to see a ton of them. But this is actually my first Fulte autograph. I didn't really like search him out first. I was kind of focusing on prospects, so it was kind of a pleasant surprise to get this one. I think it's a really cool card. I like the design. I don't necessarily like the base card design of Top Series 1, but a lot of their inserts and stuff like that are actually really pretty. All right, so let's move these guys out of the way. That brings us to this. After that group break, I wasn't sure how much more Series 1 I was going to do. Again, not a particularly high value set. You have to kind of filter through a lot of just junk. But my local card shop, which is the Sports Odyssey over in Douglasville, Georgia, it's a ways away. It's a little ways away, but it's not super bad. And I like going to this place because he always has old baseball games, like playing on VHS, kind of playing on the TV, and it's all old Braves games or old like 1980s like playoff games and things like that. Dave's a great guy to talk to about baseball cards. Baseball, he really knows his stuff. Has a really, actually, for a small shop, it's actually like a really wide selection of not just baseball, but there's there's football, there's basketball too. And I just like going up there just to even hang out. I've gotten to know him a little bit ever since I started this series. I've been kind of acquiring a few cards here and there from him. We've done some trades. I bought some from him. Again, just to kind of, go about this hobby in as many ways as possible. I think it's super easy and kind of, I don't know, it feels kind of sterile just to like go on eBay and go on COMC and just buy the cards you want and then be done with it. I love the tactile feeling of opening packs. I love the idea of trading and, kind of working out deals and things like that. All of that stuff is appealing. But the problem with Series 1 is that, again, it's not particularly great. But I wanted to support Sports Odyssey. I wanted to support that local card shop. So I decided that I was going to buy a box of Series 1, just a box of Hobby. Again, it was like, I think it was a little over $60, something like that. It wasn't expensive. So I picked out my box. And if you've read the article that this video is going with, if you already know what you kind of already know what the ending of this is. In my box, I opened a Mike Trout red, which was numbered to 25, autograph. Now, if you think Ronald Acuna cards are expensive, especially autographs, you have no idea because Mike Trout stuff is expensive and highly sought after. There's a lot of Mike Trout collectors out there, which makes sense, right? Because he's the best player in baseball right now. He's going to go down probably as one of the better baseball players, assuming no injuries or nothing crazy happens, will be one of the better players to have ever played the game. I understandably kind of freaked out. My jaw sort of hit the floor, and once both the card shop owner and I kind of got done celebrating, I got the card home, and I decided to post a picture of it on Twitter. And a lot of people really loved that. I was a little surprised by how the level of reaction I got to that card and posting it. And that was really cool, and it kind of spurred me along in this whole little project. But within about 10 or 15 minutes, a gentleman by the name of Mike McKenna got in touch with me. Mike's been great. He's based on the West Coast, and he has been a big Mike Trout collector. He has a pretty substantial following on Twitter. He collects Mike Trout, basically anything, but mostly baseball cards. And he got in touch with me. He congratulated me on the pull, and he said, "Hey, if you're ever interested in letting that card go, please let me know. I'm willing to make an offer." That appealed to me a lot. Not because it wasn't pushy at all, and it didn't come across that way at all. It's just, hey, congratulations, but just so you know, if that's not something you're interested in, because it seems like you're more of a Braves guy, I'm happy to work something out, and I do have Brave stuff and all that. So I talked to him for a while, and I decided pretty early on, once I opened that card, is that I wanted that card to go to someone that was going to love and appreciate it. I could put it on eBay, and I probably could have gotten probably $400+ for it, which would have been great, obviously, but I like the idea of trading. I like the idea of doing things in different ways and things like that. I wouldn't fault anyone for keeping it. I did certainly think about keeping it because it's just how good Trout is and how much I appreciate him as a player. But I like the idea of using that card to get cards that I wouldn't necessarily be able to get for myself, or at least not at this point. And also getting that card to a guy or girl who would appreciate it and it would be an important part of their collection. So I talked to Mike for several days, just kind of figuring out what he had, what we wanted to do. He was willing to do a deal just about any way I wanted to, just we had to figure out the pieces. I decided to do a full trade for it. And That's because, again, I wanted to use to maximize the value of the card. I didn't spend that much money on the box. I still got some more value out of the box. I got a Shohei Ohtani short print card and a few other things that, again, nothing great, but I didn't have a ton of value invested in the card, and I wanted to maximize that value getting back into my collection. And that's what this package is. Some of the stuff is extra, and Mike, you went a little bit. I did double check and make sure everything was good in there before I, messed around with anything. But this package has some really, really high-end cards, and he also threw in some extras, which I really appreciate. And so we're gonna go through them together. This is an extra. This is Grayson Janista. You're going to see some more of him in a bit when I do the other mailbag. This is a blue Peril, which I believe is numbered to 150. Is it? Oh, there it is, 150, right down here. Second round pick for the Braves in this past draft. Really like him. I've actually gotten a fair bit of his stuff because it's been relatively inexpensive recently as well. So thank you very much for the extra. I did tell Mike that I was a bit of a Soroka head, and as you can see, he sent me a lot of Sorokas. A whole bunch of Sorokas. And I love him for it. This is awesome. The little cards even like this that aren't necessarily like, the autographs or the short print parts, I still love cards like this because, again, it kind of takes me back to... Ooh, this one's shiny. It takes me back to when I was a kid and, like, opening these cards. It was, like, my favorite player. Opening these cards like this that were of my favorite player. Maybe they're not expensive, but, again, these are all Mike Soroka rookie cards, and if anyone has followed me for any amount of time knows that I think he's going to be a really great pitcher in this league. So, getting a bunch of Mike Soroka rookie cards is never bad. These are some more throw-ins. This is just a Ronald Acuna rookie card. This is from Topps Update, and again, always good to have Acuna stuff. Those aren't necessarily high-dollar cards, and that's not really what you're here watching this video for. This is from Topps Series 1. This is just an Ozzy Albies 35th anniversary card. I think it's really cool looking. Not his rookie card, but still awesome. This is an Ozzy Albies rookie card. Best performance. This is out of 2018 Bowman's Best. This is an insert in that set. I think it looks really neat. It's kind of a callback to like kind of those early 90s sort of inserts that I was messing around with when I was a kid. Like, things you'd find in Donruss packs and things like that. Now we're going to start getting into some of the cards that we had agreed to. Well, sort of. But we'll get there in a second. But this is kind of getting into the more of the higher end stuff. This is a Ronald Acuna rookie card. This is from Topps Chrome Update. I'm showing this card because one, I think it's a great pose and a great picture, and two, more importantly, this picture and this card is going to be coming in a little more apparent when you see some of the other cards that I did get. That's going to be kind of one of the big cards of this trade. Again, Ronald Acuna rookie cards, for just base cards and things like that, they're still a non-zero amount of money, so I'm always glad to add one of those. This is not Christian Pache's Bowman's First, so it's not his true rookie card, but this is a Christian Pache refractor. I like him a lot as a prospect. Like one of those guys that can be kind of one of those all-tools type guys, can run, can throw, can hit, and can do all that. He's already getting a lot of love on Top 100 prospects, so his autographs are actually going up in value a decent bit as well. I actually didn't have any of his Bowman cards until this came in. This is his Bowman's First card. This is from 2016, I believe. It's hard for me to read. Well, this is 2018. Now, this is from Bowman Chrome. Generally, cards like this go from, I don't know, between 50 and 70 bucks, kind of depending on when you buy them. Obviously, being a highly regarded position player prospect, it's going to boost his value a bit. But overall, really happy to add this guy. I did have a Christian Pache autograph before this, but it was from Bowman's Best. It wasn't necessarily like one of his true rookie cards and not one of the more desirable autographs. But getting this guy was kind of a big deal for me. And then we have this guy. Like we talked about earlier over here, his base Bowman's First, you can tell it's a Bowman's First based on it has the first in the top corner, whatever Bowman version you're looking at. Because you'll see, Drew Waters is going to be in Bowman next year, but it won't be his Bowman's First. These are going to be more of the highly desirable ones. This is the same version of the card I just showed you, but it's numbered, which makes it more expensive and harder to acquire. This is numbered 130 out of 250. Drew Waters autographs are relatively expensive to acquire right now because, again, he's kind of seeing some love on top 100 prospect lists, and he's a really good young player, outfielder, switch hitter, can seemingly kind of do it all. And I'm really happy to get this guy. Again, this is kind of same realm of the Pache, but maybe a little bit more expensive because of the purple parallel. And I'm quite happy to get it. Now, this card is an interesting one. Because when I first saw it, when he sent me pictures, I actually didn't know what the fuss was, because it just looked like a base Ronald Acuna Jr. rookie card. Spoilers, you probably saw what the next card, the next card is going to be. This came from Top Series 2 in 2018. This is not the normal Ronald Acuna rookie card. The normal Acuna Jr. rookie card, when he's swinging, the bat's pointed up. It's a little bit earlier. It's a little bit earlier in the swing, I guess is the best way to say it. This is a short print, and you can always tell each set's going to have a little bit of a different set code number down here, down in this corner, as to what cards are regular prints and what cards are short prints. And this is a short print. Over time, these particular short prints have gone up in value a whole bunch. And assuming that Acuna does anything resembling what we think he'll do as a player, they're probably only going to continue to go up. Cursory look on eBay right now, you've seen these. I've seen these sell anywhere from the $80 to $100 range. And again, I like having Ronald Acuna rookie cards. Having one that's a particularly short print, but might not necessarily be, like listed as like, a blue parallel or, a whatever parallel. Something that's kind of a little bit more subtle and a little bit harder for me to find in my, in my travels is appealing to me. So once I saw this card and I kind of did some more research on it just to make sure that it wasn't just like some, shell game, it's confirmed this is a card that definitely gets, definitely gets some attention on eBay. So I was really happy to acquire this guy. And that brings us to this guy. Yeah, that's another Ron Acuna rookie autograph that I managed to luck into. This one's from Topps Chrome Update. Again, love the picture. Him kind of just, being Ronald, smiling, laughing, enjoying himself. Autograph is, Acuna's autograph is a little bit kind of him kind of scribbling a little bit, but really pretty card. You see these on eBay, for, I don't know, depending on when you buy them, between 150 and 200. On, in season might go for a little bit, more towards that higher end, but right now maybe a little bit towards the lower end. And for me, again, I probably could have, especially with Top Series 1 just getting posted, I probably could have sold the Trout for maybe more than what I got in trade value. But one, I'm banking on guys like Acuna and Pache and things like that, Drew Waters, increasing in value over time. And I think Acuna is one of the safer bets just in terms of pure talent level and what he did last year. And we were both really happy with the trade. Mike was great. And once we kind of settled on the cards that I was interested in, we got the deal done. My end of the trade took a while to get through the U.S. Postal system for reasons I don't really understand. But, he's really happy with the trade, and so am I. But overall, really, really happy to get this. I couldn't imagine that within the first 3 months, or in the first month of me doing this, I was going to have 3 Ronald Jr. rookie autos. Because, again, they're really expensive and not necessarily accessible to the everyday casual collector, which I kind of consider myself as. But really happy to have it. I'm going to treasure it for a long time. Now, this here is not a package from a trade or anything like that. This is the result of, when I was talking about over here, the group break that I did with Hall of Fame baseball cards. This package came today, is from another break company that is much bigger and does breaks all the time, and that's Firehand Cards. I really like these guys. They break a ton of cases each day, and it's kind of mind-boggling, like the value of cards that go through their fingers on a day-to-day basis, because they're constantly opening, one-of-ones and, these crazy autographs and these crazy quad autographs that like go for crazy money on eBay because they go through so many cards. But of all the breaking companies that I've done in terms of like, quickness of shipping, knowledge of all the products, options in terms of like you could spend a bunch of money on the breaks there. They do these really high-end products like National Treasures and Flawless Baseball, where you can spend like hundreds of dollars on just buying one team and you're only getting a shot with like 8 cards or something, to more of the lower end stuff, which is kind of where I've been dabbling. What I've been doing with Firehand, and again, those guys are great. Chad and Ryan have both been really helpful in any questions that I had. I think their website is firehandcards.com. So if you're wanting to get like, maybe just look and see kind of what's going on, maybe buy into a break or two, you can definitely find, breaks of any and all pricing levels. Fair warning though, breaks are a little bit of a gamble. You don't really know what you're going to get. It's just like buying packs though. If you buy the Braves in an expensive set, there's a good chance, there's a very decent chance that you will not get your money back. But there's also a chance that you will, you know, make your money back in a big way because they're opening so many boxes and opening such, you know, varied qualities, including high quality products that you'll be able to get something of real value coming out of those breaks. But this is my mail day from that particular. And they mail twice a week, and so we're gonna go through what I got. One of the things I've been doing is just kind of, I'm not been spending a bunch of money on breaks in terms of like buying the Braves in expensive sets for that to get them and things like that. I'll either do random team breaks, which ends up being one set price for everybody, and then just kind of hope I random someone good, or I'll try to find value in terms of a team that maybe have a low monetary value, but maybe I know information or I have information that I feel good about some of the players that may have some cards in it that maybe down the line I can use these cards to trade or sell later to, you know, boost my own collection. And that sort of speculation on prospects and, you know, cards and stuff like that just requires a lot of research and things like that. This was a Series 1 break. It was not expensive at all. I randomed the Dodgers and I had, you know, hopes of getting, you know, a Kershaw autograph or something like that, but I did not. But I did get this really cool green refractor out of the silver packs that they have in that product. This one's numbered out of 99, and it's Jackie Robinson, which again is really cool. A really cool sort of card to have. Again, not a big value, you know, in terms of cards and things like that. But again, the break wasn't very expensive. Here is actually, hold on one second. This is the rest of the cards I got from the break. Nothing crazy. Again, I got a regular Jackie Robinson times 2 out of those silver packs as well. Got a Kiki Hernandez rainbow foil. A Justin Turner rainbow foil, and a Yasiel Puig, your friend. This one's numbered out of 2019. All these gold cards that come out of those base products are numbered basically out of the year that they're produced. So again, nothing particularly awesome in there, but it was still fun. They don't ship all the base cards with this particular site for that particular product, but for a lot of products they do ship all the cards that you get. Now let's talk about this product. First of all, they sent me some basketball cards. I have no earthly idea why. Thank you. But so I have a season ticket Karl Anthony Towns, a Markel Folks, and a Efford Payton from, I don't know what product this is, Panini Contenders 2018-19. So I assume that they just had some left over from one of their basketball breaks, and they just decided to kind of send them out to everybody just as kind of a thank you. But this is a 2018 Bowman's Best break, where again they send a lot of the nicer cards from that. Well, they send a lot of the base cards, a lot of that, and the Pirates were incredibly inexpensive. And I happen to know that there was a few autographs, players that did have autographs in that set, and there was a lot of autographs that come out of that product. I also have all the Mitch Kellers and Travis Swaggertys that I'll ever want. A lot of base cards of both those guys. This is a Kevin Kramer early indications. Again, nothing fancy, but the biggest card I got from that was this Luis Escobar autograph. He's kind of like a top 20 low end prospect for the Pirates in terms of, like, you know, their top 30 list and things like that. But he has big time stuff, and he could end up being, and what I kind of see him as is kind of ending up as a reliever. For the Pirates, and having the ability to get to the major leagues with that sort of stuff. So again, this is the kind of guy that I'm not necessarily going to try to flip right away. This is a guy that I sit on, hope that he gets a major league call up, and then once his cards spike, you know, have that spike in value, then be able to trade those or sell those away to be able to order more stuff. So that's kind of what my generally goal is with a lot of these breaks, is just kind of find, you know, market inefficiencies and, you know, value where I can. Not spending crazy amounts of money. I got all the Pirates from that. I end up getting an autograph from it. Again, this card doesn't have a ton of value right now, but I'm also willing to wait for some of these cards to kind of appreciate in value. Finally, we have some Braves content, which is probably what most of you are here to see in terms of the group breaks. As I mentioned before, buying the Braves in like a PYT format break, hold on, this thing's sticking, is expensive right now. If you're buying the Braves in like a Bowman's Best or, you know, anything like that, you're gonna spend real money because of the presence of Ronald Jr. rookie cards like this guy. Ozzy Albies type stuff, even stuff like Soroka stuff or Drew Waters stuff will kind of make those breaks more expensive, and people still collect a lot of guys like Freddie Freeman, etc. So what I did is I started looking for where the Braves weren't expensive, and one thing that they aren't expensive in at all was 2018 Bowman draft, because they didn't sign Carter Stewart, they only have one player in that whole set that has autographs, and that's Grayson Janista. But they do have other prospects that don't necessarily have autographs in it, but are cards that I would like to add to my collection, and also just kind of getting those Grayson Janista cards on the cheap with lots of chances at it was appealing to me. As you can see, I did hit some refractors of both Janista, Ian Anderson, and Joey Wentz. Here's some more, and that's pretty much all three. I think those are the only three players I pulled: Janista, Ian Anderson, and Wentz. This is kind of a cool little insert. It has Grant Levine and Jason Granista in it. Both of those guys I think are going to be big time hitters. So that's where those foils come. This is just another Grayson Janista foil. They just put this in the case to kind of protect the other cards in the pack that they sent me and things like that, to kind of keep things even. So thank you for the extra top loader, but this is nothing special. However, this card is a good one. The last card I'm going to be showing you guys today, this is a black refractor numbered to 75. Bowman's first Grayson Janista autograph. Autograph looks really good on it. The top loader has some dust on it, but I have... In a previous break, I got one base autograph of Grayson Janista, so I already had his autograph. But getting number parallels like this, especially of a guy who is Bowman's first, is as high value. And this is a particularly low number parallel. Generally, you'll see if it's a refractor autograph, it's $4.99. To blue, it's $150. Green is $99. Black is $75, and then you can go to orange. Or gold, then orange, then red. Red's numbered to 5. And then there's the super refractors, which are the 1-to-1, one of ones, which I have yet to hit any of, but that's okay. So this was a big card for me. This actually has some real value too. Made my money back, and then quite a bit on the break. Again, buying the Braves in Bowman draft this year at Firehand anyway is only like $29-30. So for that, I got all these cards that I want, whether it be Ian Anderson, Joey Wentz, those are pitching prospects I really like. And then I managed to also hit a particularly sweet card, which is this guy right here. Well, guys, that's all I have for this first installment of re-entering the hobby. My goal with this is to kind of continue to provide regular updates as I have mail days, or if I have things that come in or interesting things happen. I want to, bring that up and show you guys. One last note, and this has been kind of a weird development, is that I did not realize that once I posted this series how much attention it was going to get, and two, like how generous some people were talking about being. Multiple people have reached out to me and said, hey, I'm happy to send you some cards, whether it be cards that I had when I was a kid and I'm not doing anything with, or I'm happy to send some cards to help you get started and things like that. And that was pretty flattering. And I don't really know what to do about that, because I don't necessarily want to put my home address out there for everyone to know, just for obvious reasons. Putting that information up the internet, it's not always the smartest thing to do. But here's what I would like to do. What I would like to do with this series is to kind of promote that sort of fan interaction and, all that stuff. So if there's enough interest in people, sending in stuff or doing whatever, I am happy to take a post office box for that express purpose. If you were to send stuff in to me, what I would like to do is everyone who gets centered, who sends something in, I'll send. I'm trying to figure out. I might try to get some Talking Chop stickers made, or try to do some stuff like that, where I at least and maybe send cards back as well. Sending, kind of having that kind of back and forth is important to me. Making sure that you guys would be getting something back out of me, versus just sending me free stuff, because that's kind of, I don't know, that's not really what the purpose of this is. I kind of want to go through the whole process and not necessarily just have folks just give things just given to me, and I want it to be a back and forth and reciprocal. What I would also do is that everyone that sends in a package, send them in for a drawing, and then we'll, for every drawing there'll be a kind of a set prize, whether it be a pretty sweet card that I'm willing to part with to send to the winner, or maybe do do a t-shirt, do something like that. So that's my general thought process right now. I'm interested to see what you guys think. I will kind of have to know that there's going to be a response for it, because I don't necessarily want to take a post office box just to kind of have to go up there and check it and just find that there's nothing there. I am certainly fine either way. The series could continue either way. But in terms of like that mailbag sort of people helping out and that being that sort of like that fan participation sort of stuff, that's going to be ultimately up to you guys, and you have to let me know, whether it be on Twitter at Leprechaun with a K, or you can find me, you can put in the comments of this video below. You can do all that stuff. You just kind of let me know what you're willing to do and what you're interested in and what you're wanting to see out of this series. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I've kind of got a little bit crazy to start with here, but I'm kind of getting into kind of a pattern of what I'm liking to do and not do. So if you have any questions or anything you wanted me to kind of talk about in these videos, please let me know. But for the future, kind of these videos are going to be kind of, again, mail day updates, as well as kind of things I'm learning, and, you know, maybe it's a little bit of previews as to kind of products as they come out. So thanks so much for following along these last few years in terms of my work over in Talking Chop. I'm really excited to kind of do this as a kind of a new thing with my work there. So make sure you like this video. Make sure you comment below that you read it, and that and make sure that you're reading the articles over on Talking Chop as well. Thanks a lot, guys.